Mm-hmm.
I'm like, wow, that's wild. Like, I wonder how many people are the police are called on, and like, I'm actually fine like calling the police if it's like legit. You're going to take your own life. Like, this is going to happen, and we both consent to it. Let's do it. But like, they be calling police on folks that are fine, and they're the reason why they're tweaking. And so the
Yeah.
reason why this fits in, Spence, is like they're like, have you tried slavery? Because you're going to prison. It's like, you know how bad that can fuck someone up.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know that officer could kill them, and like if it's unless they're trained and all that. Like, it's just wild, man. They love putting folks into these boxes. So when I'm watching that white lady, Spence, I'm like, bro, she's out here pulling stuff out of him that he doesn't want to talk about. He doesn't need to talk to her about anything. You're not his therapist. You can't just be pushing like, oh, you shouldn't smoke around my daughter. You're out here fucking stealing people's black bodies. With like,
Got a point, right? It's just like, even if it is a smaller, like, bad thing that you're doing, it doesn't really matter because they're black, and so it's to them it's worse, right? No matter what, like, oh, you're smoking around my daughter, blah blah blah.
What else are you doing?
Yeah, but it's like they have the right to determine what you are or are not allowed to do.
Right. It's control.
Yeah. Yes.
Which
absolutely
is intriguing. So I never really thought of therapy in this controlling way, and I've been seeing a lot of y'all, you people, you woke motherfuckers.
Yeah.
The white tees, if you know what I'm saying.
The white tees.
Absolutely.
I've been seeing them say all this shit. There's another black woman that I've seen posting a lot of stuff. That you and her like a lot of each other's stuff. I forgot her name. It's like patriarchal or something like that. Something like Pat first.
Oh yeah, Pat. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I see them posting some stuff, and I'm like, okay. But that's not the way I operate. So you're like, I didn't do that. I wasn't there. I wasn't that slave guy. I don't know. But so I feel myself doing it sometimes. It's good to know the origins though about what happened.
Yeah, because now if we look at it, Black people, specifically Black men, are more likely to be given the diagnosis of schizophrenia, which is, considered a more, like I said earlier, hardcore diagnosis, because literally the DSM diagnostic criteria for schizophrenia was written based on observations from clinicians of Black people in institutions. So it was literally designed to be a diagnosis for Black people so they could be institutionalized. And people with schizophrenia are more likely to have, or people with the diagnosis of schizophrenia are more likely to be seen as dangerous, have the cops called on them, be potentially murdered. So if you're Black or brown, and there's this diagnostic criteria that they just associate with you that are more likely to be imprisoned, the treatment for schizophrenia and who gets diagnosed with schizophrenia are Black people who are then confined and do forced labor.
America.
Yeah, that's intense. I didn't know a lot of that. Look at that. Spence, we're getting education today. I don't like it.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable. It is. It is.
Yeah.
I don't like it. And there's a white lady teaching it to me, so I don't like it.
Yeah.
I know.
You're stealing our history.
I'm
You're
really
stealing our
sorry.
history and telling you repackaging it. Let me guess. You want me to breathe after this?
Huh?
Oh God.
I'll deep breath all I want.
I'll do it my way. No. Yeah, what's movie's that from? No.
I have no.
But that's from a movie for sure.
It's from a movie.
It's definitely autistic. I'm sorry that we're going in a lot of different directions, but I knew we haven't touched on these topics in depth, and you seem to have the ability to actually articulate, right? Where I've had other guests come on and they just kind of like say general things, but you're being very specific and statistical, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good. I am a person who likes to understand. Like, I ask why a lot. Like, why? Well, why does that happen? Why is this happening? And I think people get annoyed by it, but I do think it makes me a pretty good researcher.
Yeah, researcher. So when did you realize you were autistic? That was a
When did you start eating chicken nuggets? When what? What age? It was early on.
What age is
Man.
that? Do you got sensory issues? Let's talk about it.
She's like, yeah.
Not every autistic person is good at research, but
yes,
the way
absolutely.
that you preach to me, I enjoy it compared to some of my other colleagues that have been on the pod. More ADHD takes over. So it's a lot of generalness. And me and Spencer are like, okay, you said a word and a lot of other stuff. Love them. Great people, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
But it's just very, Spencer's like, they're just too general.
Shut the fuck up.
They're too general.
Well, it's like, it's not that they won't shut up. But like, if you have a point and you're going towards something, you're getting to that point and you lay out a nice story about it, then that's great. Go on a tangent all you want.
Yeah.
I don't care. But once you kind of lose sight of that and then you start skipping towards other things, that's why I'm like, okay.
ADHD's a motherfucker, boy.
And I'm just like, all right, let's move on.
Yeah. All right. So were there a couple more things? I feel like there were, but I know we also got to get to the next scene.
Yeah.
I guess like the one I was going to talk about non-consensual care, which we kind of touched on.
Yep.
Yeah, and like how performing services or whatever without the consent of a person.
So actually, I want you to stay on that topic, but I want you to speak to it like you're talking to someone that's neurodivergent, autistic, or maybe they just don't know their rights or what's appropriate in therapy. So what does this consensual stuff mean? What does this mean a clinician should or shouldn't do, or a client should know or shouldn't know? Help us out with this, because a lot of folks haven't been in the therapy that listen to us. Some of them have been, and they've been traumatized because shit's been forced.
Yeah. So consensual care is when a person understands what is going to be happening to them, what the risks are, what the benefits are, and then they agree to go forward with it. And non-consensual is basically someone taking the power from the person to decide and saying you're going to be a harm to yourself or someone else, or you aren't capable of making this decision, so I'm going to make it for you. And those are kind of the reasons why they would say you can proceed with something non-consensually, is under those couple of guidelines or whatever, I guess.
I feel like a lot of therapists just push their agenda in therapy and never really do what the client wants or needs. Would you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there's that power dynamic that comes with I'm educated and I'm the one sitting in the chair. So I know better than you.
I'm sure folks are sick of me maybe saying this stuff, and Spence too, because we've preached this for 2 years now. So you as a therapist, as a woman, because many people that listen to us are women, when they're in therapy and they feel like something's weird or they don't want to do it, but a lot of people are going to be anxious too, a lot of anxiety. They don't want to make their therapist angry or switch to another one. How can they advocate for themselves to be like, this is for more affirming care? That's a good word. How can they advocate? What would your advice, or could you role play a conversation on what they would say, how they would say it?
Let's just say that I was the person receiving the care and I wasn't comfortable.
Yes, let's do that.
I would say, can you explain to me again what the purpose of this exercise is, or what the hope is, or what I should be getting out of this? And with the intention of hopefully the clinician will either better explain it, or first of all, maybe pick up on the hesitancy to begin with. And if they, say this is what it is and you're still uncomfortable, I would say, we're always talking about how I need to set better boundaries. I'm going to set one now. I'm not super comfortable moving forward in that direction. I'd much rather pivot this way. This feels more safe for me, more important for me. Maybe we can come back to that later if there's, something there.
I'm going to play the role of the therapist real quick. But we should probably work and talk on this. Don't you want to talk and work on this?
No, I'm good.
Is there something else you would like to talk about or work on?
Yeah, I'd like to talk about this actually. This has been bothering me more.
Well, you're just being a little fucking punk, and you're gonna do what I say you do. Yeah, little snowflake.
Okay, well, I guess I'm.
So the reason why I brought that up is because a lot of clients, I'm like, hey, I'm autistic as a motherfucker in the session. So I tell my certain clients that, and if you want to go in a certain direction, you just got to tell me, kid. You come in with an agenda, a topic, things you want to do. Do you want to do the breathing exercises? Do you want to talk about trauma? Do you want to talk about your Pokemon first? Do you want to nerd out? Do you want to talk about your dating stuff first and then get into all the other shit? What is it you want to do with the session? I've got clients very comfortable now where they're like, Nas, I want to talk about something different. Okay. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Why did you just tell me you were done? Was it good for you?
But I think it's also a good gauge for you to see how your therapist responds to you switching gears. Because if it's like they have a problem with that, then at least from my perspective as a clinician, that might not be the right clinician for you.
Correct. So, folks, ask questions, set boundaries, get things very clear, come in with an agenda if you want to.
Hey, thanks for watching this video. Check out the full episode on our channel and anywhere you find podcasts. Also, remember to like and subscribe. Whoop whoop.